Oh my God. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Going live now. Jeez. Okay, now we're live. Sorry about that.
Hi, everyone.
Hi guys. Welcome to our welcome to our recruitment Q&A for R3. I guess I'll start with introductions. My name is Dalton. I am a fourth year media production student at Ryerson, and I am one of the co-leads for the video editing team.
I'm Vanessa. I'm the science team captain. With that, I project manage science controls, science mechanical, and science life detection. With that, I'll pass it on to Clyde.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaidi. I'm a fifth year biomedical sciences student and I'm one of the co-leads for the life detection team at R3.
Guess I'll go next. Hey everyone, my name is Asad. I'm a co-lead for the software division, and I'm in my third year of electrical engineering.
Hey everyone, I'm Jacob. I'm a fourth year mechanical engineering student. I'm one of the co-leads for the mechanical team on the URC rover. Nice to meet you all.
The execs who are here today, you can ask us your questions in the chat box down below. We're going to be answering some of your live questions today, as well as questions from the Google form where you all submitted your questions to us when you applied, if you have applied already. Maybe you're still on the fence, so hopefully today we can put some of your concerns at ease or let you know a little bit more about the team. I believe we have one question in the chat already, or maybe a few. When were you actually going to start work? When are you going to get to work on the rover? So recruitment is closing very soon. It's closing on Saturday at 11:59 p.m. at midnight. So if you want to apply, do it now, because once that's closed, it doesn't open again until next year. So now time is of the essence. You can always decide later if you decide not to join the team, but I would suggest getting your application in just so you don't forget. And then what's happening next Monday, you guys? Next Monday is our big kickoff meeting. So we're going to be telling you more about your sub-teams. We're going to talk about the onboarding process, and you're going to get your onboarding assignments. So onboarding is how we train new members on the team. Not for every sub-team. So for instance, Dalton's video editing team that he leads, or Clyde's science life detection team, both have their own way of onboarding members, which they can talk about in a second. But for general teams, such as mechanical, controls hardware, control software, those teams have an onboarding process so that we make sure you have all of the basic skills you need, right? Right, Assad and Jacob?
Yeah.
So people are going to get a couple of onboarding assignments that they'll have to complete and hand in, and that lets us see where your skills are at so that we can give you a project that suits your skill level. And then in November, that's when you get to start doing things on the team, building real things, which is really exciting. But video editing and science life detection, you guys have a bit of an expedited process, don't you?
Yeah, for video editing, we kind of just throw you into it as soon as we can. We get you producing some videos for us. I think a lot of my first videos were interviews for our representation robotics series. So I know when I first started off, I was doing a lot of that. I was helping out with the video for the SAR rover. Yeah, so we'd like to just kind of throw you right into the thick of it right from the beginning for video editing.
And when it comes like to the live detection team, we sort of like have a similar approach. So you'll be joining the team and you'll be assigned a task that previous members or like current members of the team are already working on. So you will be working on DNA, RNA, protein, and lipid extraction and detection protocols, and will help you how to tackle research articles and what to extract from them that could be applicable to our work for R3.
Yeah, exactly. And science life detection is one of the more competitive teams. So most teams on R3, if you apply, you do the work, you're willing to learn, there's a place for you. For science life detection, it's a little bit different because it is very research intensive. So it's a smaller, more specialized team. So just know if you're applying to science left detection, there is an interview process. You might not be chosen for that team, but if you're not chosen for that team, there is other places on the team for you. All right, do we want to answer the next question? I think there was something along the lines of, do we need any skills or do we have to already know robotics to join R3?
Just speaking from the mechanical point of view, even people who have no background in mechanical engineering can apply and learn CAD skills if they want to, and just start from scratch to learn how to build parts, how to model things, how to source parts, that kind of thing. So if you're interested in robotics, then I would say, at least for the mechanical team, you don't necessarily need any background, although it does definitely help. And kind of comes into play later on, and when we decide on projects to give to different people. But if you have no experience and you're kind of scared, we'll definitely end up pairing you with people who are more experienced so you can learn more. And if you need help specifically in certain areas, then co-leads can help you if you need it sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. We have tons of resources right here on the YouTube channel even. So if you want to get started with SolidWorks, we have SolidWorks tutorials, and we even have extensive CSWA tutorials from the CSWA course we ran this summer. If you want to do Python, that's what we mostly code in for software, right, Asad?
Yeah. So I can just add on to that. So honestly, like the thing about our whole like software program is like we kind of like take you guys like completely from like scratch. Like the first task that we give, like it's like pretty fundamental. It's like we walk you guys through it. You give you guys all the resources that you guys need, and we're with you like throughout the whole way. I think for each task we provide like several different like resources and links with tutorials. So like you should be able to figure out everything by yourself, even if you have no idea or have never looked at anything to begin with. To just give some background, I have never actually coded. I've never actually created any like real like Python projects before being a part of this team. Like I've done like small tasks here and there. I've never done anything like big. But like this team like actually gave me the opportunity to explore for the first time. So it's pretty nice. And now I've done like several different things related to it, and like so have my like the team like people in the team.
I think that's so true. I think a lot of people, like, I didn't know, I had never used SolidWorks when I joined the team. And I just got thrown right in, and they assigned me a task right away, and I learned it. And there's nothing like learning by doing. So when you create a project to learn the skills, you're learning it so much more deeply. You have to solve real problems. It has to work at the end of the day. So I find it really rewarding. And also, you don't always get those skills in class, like design skills, like how to iterate a design, or even like, some things you learn in class, but there's some like practical skills that you get on the team that you just never will come across in class. Clyde,
To your point a little bit.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I know especially for the people studying mechanical engineering or perhaps other engineering where they think CAD might be useful, I would highly recommend you learn some sort of CAD software. Like they say they teach you SolidWorks in Mech 222, they don't. So if you actually plan on, maybe being a design engineer or at least want CAD in your skill set, then definitely take the time either join robotics or learn it on your own. Although joining robotics will help make it a lot easier on you to learn.
And to your point about Mech 222, I joined the robotics team before, like in first year. And when I came to that course, I was ahead of everybody because I had been doing it on the team. I was like, oh, these are simple. So it's a great way to kickstart so that when you come to that course, not only will you understand it more deeply because you built real things using it, but also you're going to be a step ahead of having the basic CAD skills that you need. I was going to go to you, Clyde, because science life detection might be the one exception to this rule of having previous experience, right?
Yeah, like somehow like you don't need any experience in robotics, because when I joined the team, I had no previous experience in robotics, but I had I would say a relatively strong background in biology and chemistry, and I also had wet lab experience. So as long as you have a background in biology and chemistry, or as long as you're able to tackle and think critically of research papers that you read, and as long as you're creative, I think you'll be a good fit for like the live detection team. And you also have guidance from me as a co-lead, and the other co-lead as well, and the other team members as well have biology and chemistry experience. And we also have other team members that don't have any wet lab experience. But again, you've learned other skill sets in your degree or along in other courses, such as like analyzing like research papers and writing protocols and stuff like that. And those are all valuable for our team.
Yeah. And then I even learned some video editing, Dalton. I had never video edited before, and I took my hand at a few videos this year. So there's lots of opportunities to learn skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just relating to like the whole thing with the science team, don't you guys have like different departments that are like don't you guys have science controls?
Mhm.
And for that, I would assume like you don't necessarily need to know have all that strong like biology and chemistry background, but just like
Yeah,
be
exactly.
more experience with like the more controls, communication stuff, right?
So it's three separate teams. So the one
Yeah,
Clyde leads is purely life detection. So that's
yeah,
like the scientific research team. So that's geology, chemistry, biology, reading research papers, and writing technical writing about it. Then we
Mhm.
have controls, which encompasses both hardware and software members. And we have mechanical, which is what it sounds like, building the building the
Mhm.
mechanism. We had someone asking specifically about controls hardware. They asked, can you tell me more about the controls hardware position?
I can. I'm actually not
You're
a
a
hardware member,
software, but do you
but
think you can speak to it a little bit?
I've worked with a lot of the hardware guys, and for a lot of the projects, we kind of work like side by side with them, right? Like the hardware people need to know like what like software like can run on it, like what like microprocessors, what like that kind of stuff. So like basically for every single project that like I've worked on and that I've like looked into, you need at least like one kind of uh like processing unit, whether that it's like a microcontroller or a microprocessor, or like a mini computer. Uh, like those all need like wiring, and you need like some sort of like voltage control for that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like there's voltage regulators, there's like buck converters, there's all these different like basically you can't just like get like a battery and just like two like positive and negative and just like expect your microcontrollers to work, right? There's like a lot of like hardware in between. Like even like the boards alone, there's like people who have spent like their whole time here just like optimizing, creating like the perfect boards, which allow like the perfect power output to go to like all the individual components, all the different motors and everything like that. So like software, like the people in software, like we kind of just like use like we assume that we have the perfect voltage and input given to us, and with that we can do whatever we can, right? So it's basically like all the wiring that like can get the software people what they need to do to like put it
Yeah,
simply.
so there's lots going on in controls hardware. I also worked a lot with them because I was the chassis lead last year on the mechanical side of the team. And so with that, the chassis houses all of our electronics. So hardware encompasses choosing sensors, choosing cameras, doing wiring, doing power distribution boards, doing motor controllers, speccing motors and batteries, all of that stuff. Some of it crosses over a little bit with mechanical. Like sometimes the mechanical guys will spec the motors, but it has to be kind of a back and forth because we also have to have the power for it, and the power is done by the controls hardware stuff people. So we have a conversation there. But at some of the stuff, soldering, you do. We use a lot of Raspberry Pis and Jetson Nanos. All of that kind of stuff is what you would do on the controls hardware team.
Yeah, I just saw like a question that just came up. Like I think that ties like really closely to the one that just like they're on right now. about like the software that they use to create schematics. So as far as I know that like the hardware people, they use Autodesk Eagle. Like that's primarily like a main like software that they use for PCB design and just general like boards and such. I know that the team has also explored using like Altium.
Yeah, we prefer using Altium. Like we use that a lot.
Yeah, but in the for example like the TSN project that we worked on and
Yeah.
the training packages that
Yeah,
they
but
worked on last
for
year.
the main team, we usually use Altium. It's just that we can only
Yeah.
get so many licenses. Thank you to Altium, one of our sponsors.
Oh
But
yeah.
we only get so many seats a year, so we usually
Okay.
save it for priority projects. But Altium is often what we use.
Okay. Yeah.
Somebody asked, if we applied to multiple teams, how will we be decided which one we're placed on? So it's up to you. Except for science life detection, which is a competitive process, all other teams, as long as you complete all of the assignments on time, you don't plagiarize, and you hand them in, you will be on the team. For media, you don't have to do training off the team. For media, you go right into the team and do your training just in the thick of it. You just join and you already work on projects right away, which is a really great way for that team to train. And so you're gonna have to make that decision. So say you applied to 4 different teams. I don't think you can handle 4 teams. That's a lot of work. I don't know anyone who's that much of a superhero. So one thing you can do is next week, if you apply to the team, we'll send you the training package. So if you look at the training package and you think which ones are the kind of work I want to do, then complete those ones. So whether that's 1 or 2. And then whichever ones you hand in is the ones that we'll keep contacting you for. That's what you'll continue with. So if we don't hear from you, if we don't get your package from you, then you're not going to be on that team. So that's the one way you can decide. Also, for the ones I would suggest, I know a couple of people on the team who are like on software and mechanical, and they really enjoy it. So if you're that kind of person, okay, go ahead and take on a lot, but I'd also say that is a lot of work. I would say media and a technical team are a really good pair, or sponsorship and a technical team, because media and sponsorship can be a bit more manageable and they marry well with technical teams because you can talk about your technical skills on the communication team. Wouldn't you say, Dalton?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so think about that. Think about where your passions lie, what you want to learn more about. I know when I joined, I was debating between controls hardware and mechanical. And actually, the first meeting I went to was for controls hardware, and then decided to switch to mechanical. So everybody has a different passion. Everyone has a different thing that's what they want to do. So kind of have to do some self-reflection here. But what might help you is next week when you see the training packages, and it gives you more of an idea, because the training packages, their content is very similar to what you would do on the team. Wouldn't you guys say? Do you have any other advice for people who are deciding between teams?
Honestly, like I would just kind of add on to what Vanessa was saying before, like schoolwork on its own is like pretty busy, and like it's like really fun. I enjoy my time with robotics and everything, but like you just don't want to overwhelm yourself, you know, like as much as you could say like, you know what, I want to be doing everything. Like I want to like make the mechanical parts, I want to figure out the hardware, I want to do the software, like it's tough. Like even like a simple, like I'll give you an example, just like just the software, or yeah, sure, like the software side of like the TSN project that we had last, like around like February, March. Like we went just through the software part of that in a span of like 2 to 3 months, right? And that was like um people, I think like members average work, like they had like a weekly meeting, and then like they work like a couple hours like every week. Like obviously some work less, right? But like generally like they probably work like an hour or two, right? And
Yeah.
obviously you can do more than that too. And like, but like now tie that on top of like mechanical too. So that's like another like an hour or two. And then like hardware, like, and then you have like your own like social life, taking care of yourself. Like yeah, just like you guys aren't gonna just like, yeah, you gotta do this kind of like for something like fun. You don't want to be like stressed out by this, you know? Like that's not the point. It's for like have a good time to like enjoy it and everything. And like you just like if you're like overwhelming yourself and like you're no longer enjoying it. It's like more of a it's like more disadvantage like it has more disadvantages than like advantages in that way.
I think also it's very buildable. You start small, and then you get to know
Yeah.
what you can handle, and then you can take on more and more positions in the team. And also at that point, you have more experience to offer too, so you can
Yeah.
do more interesting projects. I do think a lot of people ask, how much time commitment is it? It is up to you. You will definitely have a 1 hour meeting every week. So that's the base. And then you're going to get an assignment for the week. So every week we work, everybody does work every week, except for midterms and exams. We take those off. We say no meetings, no work, focus on school. But in normal times, not midterms, not exams, we do things every week. So you'll get an assignment from your lead. You'll do it that week. You'll show it at the next meeting. So however long it takes you to do that, right? So it's up to you too. Sometimes you have a say in which assignments you take on. So you can take on something more complex or something more simple. I would say 3 hours a week is probably around the minimum, because if you think 1 hour meeting and 2 hours to do whatever you're doing that week, but it varies widely. I definitely spend way more time than that on the team. And I think everyone here does, but that's because we're all very committed members of the team.
If you don't mind, I just want to like kind of add to that. From the software side, it's not exactly like that. At least my experience and like the way we're planning things,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work necessarily like that. So to give you an idea, right now the way it works is like we use GitHub, right? And if you're familiar with GitHub, there's these things called issues, right? So we have like several different issues, right? And like some of these things are like pretty complex, right? Like it's not something that you'll just like figure out in like a first read and just like program it. No, it's like you have to like it's like a kind of like a complete, to give you an example, like one thing that's like an incoming thing for like existing members, like I'm not sure if the new guys will be able to like experience this, but the existing members, like a project that we're doing is it's self-driving done by lidar, right? Like that's not something you can like figure out in like 1-2 hours. Like honestly, I'm projecting that whole like task to like take like multiple weeks, right? So like it's not going to be like just one assignment, like figure that out, right? The way we organized it is that like, because like it's going to be kind of like the 1 week, like look into it, research it, like read the documentation, right? And just maybe like discuss like maybe what you like figured out, right? And then the next week, I don't know, try to like apply it. Like for example, like the end product would be like a completely self-driving vehicle, right? That's like perfectly able to like pass, maneuver its way around like obstacles, right? Like obviously that's not going to be like the first thing, but like the first task, like the sub task that we can give is like, you know what? I want you to just figure out how to just make sure like how can you even like detect if something's in front of you, right? Like we'll give you maybe like 2-3 weeks to figure that out. And it's not even fixed. Like if you want to say like, you know what, like I'm gonna skip a week and I'm gonna like work again next week. Like I'm at least from like the way I plan on doing things, I'm gonna be a lot more flexible. Like I'm not gonna be like every single week I need so and so done. Like it's not like for me, it's like as long as you show commitment and that you're like actively like trying to do work, like that's fine. Like there's no like fixed thing. Like even if you're like spending like an hour a week with like positive response, like that's still something, right? Because like
Yeah.
if like let's say like 10 people are spending like an hour a week, that's 10 hours a week on that particular project. And like I think that's still like significant progress.
So that varies between teams. So on mechanical, speaking for mechanical, we still do research. So like that would be your task for the week, is to research a material or to research different mechanisms that could produce a certain kind of movement, right, Jacob?
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of the time spent is not actually making parts. It's more like looking at like backing out and looking at a bigger picture. Is like, okay, for example, we have a new rule requirement on URC where a rover has to fit in a 1x2 by 1x2 by 1x2 meter volume box, but it can deploy to be a larger size once it's out of the box. Our rover is way bigger than that right now in terms of height. So now we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we change things to make it collapsible, but not redesign the entire robot, because that would take a whole lot of work. So it's about like a lot of concept design, a lot of pre-planning, and then once you get a solid like plan, then it gets into the nitty-gritty of like, okay, what parts do we use? How should they be shaped? What material do we make it out of? So there's a lot that goes into that, but I would say maybe like 80% to 90% is like this pre-planning, making, because you can't make a part without it having a function.
Yeah, and we do a lot of CAD too, and like re-CADing things. So we design something, we show it to the team, we come up with new ideas, we alter it. And also from a big picture perspective, so from project management perspective, for us as leads, we have deadlines, right? So everything for this year's rover has to be made and working by January, because January is our testing month. So that's our big deadline that we're hitting as leads. So working back from that, we're looking at each team member. And so it's very variable who's doing what or when it's done, but in the end, it needs to get there. So we have these milestones along the way that we're trying to hit. So a really important thing on the team is sometimes people say like, what if I get sick? Or what if I have a big team project that I'm doing for school and I can't do what I said I'd do that week? And we totally understand, but the thing we ask is that you give us warning. So if you are feeling overwhelmed in a week, tell us as soon as you feel that way, because we need to know so that we can put someone else on it. Because it's okay if you can't do it, but we need in the big picture to hit our deadlines as a team so that we can go to competition.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, one of my pet peeves is just like when like someone leaves me on like red for like a week. Like, like if you're not gonna do it, just say like, sorry, I don't want to do it, right? Like, as long as like the team is not affected by your progress, right? Like that's okay. Like, and even if, for example, like you can't do it in like, let's say like 2 weeks and you have to finish that project, then like if you like if you tell us like your reason, whatever, like we're understandable. We're not like there to like get your backs, like get you like in like big trouble or anything like that. Like we can just like have someone else who has more time like look into that right away. So yeah, that's the thing. By the way, I think this is a question that someone asked. I think I'm not sure if you plan on coming back to it later, Vanessa, or someone
Go
asked
ahead,
about the
bring it up.
software that the programming languages that's used. Like I just wanna, should I
Yeah, go
answer that
for it.
now or?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, someone kind of answered like Python. So Python is what we're trying to do majority of the programming in. But that being said, like not everything can be done in Python. For example, like for video streaming, like sometimes we might have to use some sort of um, like web page based things, right? And like with the web page, there's like HTML, CSS markups, right? Um, Another example would be like, suppose like you're programming like a microcontroller. We do a lot of work with microcontrollers, right? Like for example, like Arduinos, and like different kinds of those like processors, right? That's primarily done in like C/C++. Like the Arduino IDE, like whatever that's programmed in, that's mainly like C++. So like it's kind of like a mix of those two. And then like the thing is with those languages too, there's like, especially with Python, there's a bunch of different like frameworks and like libraries, right? So it kind of like varies. It's not just like just pure Python. It's kind of like there's variations of that language as well, right? So like let's just keep that in mind.
Also,
But
if
yeah,
you want to get started with Python, if it's something new to you, Mustafa Eid, our software controls lead from last year, did an extensive, really excellent Python workshop last winter. And you can find that on our channel. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you can still watch it. And that's a really great way to get started.
yeah.
Someone else asked, how are the new members introduced to the software team? I think we mentioned this before, but they'll have training modules, right, Asad?
Yeah, so the trade, like unfortunately, like the members who are like just gonna register, they're not gonna be able to work on like real projects. And it's not that like we don't want you to, it's just because we want to give everyone like a chance to kind of get more introduced to like the topics, get introduced to like how everything works, to gauge like what everyone's skill level is at, so that way we can put you guys on a team based on like how much you know, how like the
Yeah.
exact like more like experience that you have in such and
So
such.
to clarify, they will work on real projects. Just October is training month, so it's only a month
Yeah,
long.
that's what I
But we
mean.
do assignments just to get everybody up to speed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then like yeah, and once we got that all figured out, then it's gonna like bam, bam, bam. Like you guys are right on like right on doing like real stuff. So yeah,
Get your hands dirty.
yeah. Someone
Someone
asked
else?
about the GitHub page for software. So you know, for our GitHub page, I'm not sure if it's public or not,
It's not
but
public
it's not
because
public. Yeah.
we compete in competitions and we have to keep some trade secrets. But when you're
Yeah.
on the team, you'll get access to it.
Yeah.
Someone else asked, are certain sub-teams more dedicated to certain disciplines? Now, in a sense, yes, but in a sense, no. So we're really adamant on this team that we want all faculties, not just engineering. We want faculty of science students, faculty of community service students, faculty of communication, arts, we want business students. We have some real superstars on our team who are not engineers. Dalton's not an engineer, Clyde's not an engineer, and they bring so much to our team. And we've even had business students on the mechanical team. We've had computer science students on the video editing team. We've had people all over. So your major does not dictate where you have to work. Right,
Mhm.
guys?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
Totally.
Like I know multiple people who like in like the software side, they're actually like mechanical people, or I know people who are in the mechanical team who are actually in like biomed or electrical, or even like I know someone who's in computer science too in the mechanical team. So it's like completely like you can learn this stuff like right from scratch. Like we kind of teach you guys from scratch. It doesn't matter where you
yeah,
guys start
it's
off from.
whatever you're passionate about, whatever you're excited to work on.
Yep.
If you look at who's in what team, okay, so maybe the mechanical team sways a bit towards mechanical engineers because that tends to be what they're already interested in, but that doesn't mean that we're like looking for that or that's what we're seeking out. We love diversity on the team.
Yeah. And like, especially when it comes to like to the live detection team, we have like a variety of members coming from different majors such as aerospace engineering, biomedical engineering, like specifically for like the live detection team, we like sort of prioritize people with a basic like knowledge in biology and chemistry, because most of the work will be done independently. So we're going to do remote work, so basically like researching articles, and then we're going to meet weekly to discuss them together and to provide feedback. But yeah, generally just like feel free to apply, and like during the interviewing process, we can go over the questions that you have. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Dalton, the media and communications team is probably the most diverse team on R3, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people from all over the place there, and it's crazy because they're like all so talented, like in both like engineering and just like media. Like some of the things that I've seen people put together is just like crazy.
That's something I love about it. So a little bit of context is I founded the media and outreach team last year. And I wanted an outlet to be creative because I'm in engineering, mechatronics engineering, but I also love public speaking and I love science communication and wanted to flex the skills of it. And it's really cool to meet a lot of like-minded people who also enjoy those things and also network with students who are not in your faculty. So I got to meet so many incredible people who are in all different majors across Ryerson on that team, which is really nice. Somebody asked, are there specific requiremits for any of the positions? Kind of, not really. We've kind of answered this, like, as long as you're willing to learn, except for science. Science, we are a bit more selective for life detection specifically, but for every other team, as long as you're willing to learn, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it never hurts coming in with a background knowledge. Like if you're gonna be like on the video editing team, maybe it helps to know like Premiere Pro and like have an understanding for like YouTube and maybe like OBS or something like that. Because we do a good amount of live streams like this. For graphic design, it's just good to have a good understanding of like social media, maybe like Photoshop, Illustrator, all the stuff that comes with that. But there's 100% always room to learn and grow on those skills.
And like it just kind of depends on what you want to learn as an individual. If you want to diversify and learn new things you've never touched on, or if you're like me, then I'm kind of a one-trick pony. You just kind of go into what you like and what you know, and just refine your skills in that to a really fine point.
Honestly, I think like one of the most important, if not the most important, like character trait that you need to portray while in this team is just like passion and dedication. Like even if you're like super talented, like you know how to like, I don't know, create like your own like robot from scratch, right? But you don't want to like put any of the work or any of the effort, and like then that doesn't really matter, right? Like we want people who genuinely care and like want to put the time, and like even if they put the time and like they don't really like produce like right stuff, like you eventually will, right? Like I know in like my starting like I think my first 3-4 projects, like I just couldn't figure it out, right? I needed to ask like Mustafa like so many questions. It took me so long to figure it out, but I think he was able to recognize that, like this guy actually cares, right? Like this guy is really eager to figure it out. And like now it's like things come so much more naturally to me. Now I can like actually make those decisions and judgments on my like own. So like yeah.
Just adding on to that as well, like I think learning through the team is very helpful if you actually want to learn those things, because it's much different than learning through school or learning through courses. Practical knowledge is practical, right? So it's a lot more useful. It's just like, I think it's just better in almost every way. It definitely helps to have some of the theory and stuff, but you learn by doing, right?
I definitely agree with that. I think it gives you such a strong foundation, and you also get a real knowledge of how things work, like how to solve problems, how to go about like tackling something you don't know how to tackle, because you're constantly having to make things work and you figure it out.
And it also like gives you like a sense of interdisciplinary work, which is also like reflective of also how research works, because you're going to be in contact with people from different backgrounds, and you should be able to communicate science like in simpler terms for like people that don't necessarily have a background, and you have to make like things work in the end. Because last week we had sort of like a co-meeting with the mechanical team, and it was like so interesting, like having having people with different backgrounds come together and just like simplify their work. And yeah, I feel like it's pretty interesting. And like if one of your goals is to do research in the future, the environment that we work in is reflective of research somehow, because we're constantly doing interdisciplinary work with other teams as well.
I think that's such a good point. Looking back on my time on the team, aside from technical skills, probably the strongest skill I've built is technical communication. So there's a difference between like communicating every day with your friends or your family, and then communicating a design or a procedure to follow. Like technical information is harder to communicate, and you need everybody to be facing in the same direction. Otherwise, you're all working in different directions and nobody goes anywhere. And like Clyde said, not even just research, even in industry, school is a pretty artificial environment where you're just in your stream. That never happens. You're never going to work at a company where the mechanical engineers are doing the accounting, the public communications, the like budgeting, the human resources, and the software. No, it's not going to just be mechanical engineers. You're going to have a specialist in each of those disciplines doing that work, and you all need to be able to communicate with each other just like on the team.
Yeah, totally.
I just want to like add to that point about like technical communication. Like like, and like the fact how like school is kind of artificial, like usually like the way like I'm in like my third year right now, and like till now, the way things have been formatted, even with like labs and stuff, it's like you have information, you have strict guidelines, right? And there usually is like a right or wrong answer. It's either you're doing the lab correct or you're not, right? Obviously, there are like a couple like free to explore kind of projects, but there are very few, right? With robotics, one of the best parts about it is that like is the way you want to approach things, right? Like you decide exactly how you want to like do things from scratch. Like, okay, sure, we'll give you guys resources. We'll tell you guys, okay, use this library, use this thing. But the way you want to implement it, it's like completely like on your own. And like we're not even tell you like how to do it, like what's the structure. Like that's for you to figure out yourself. And I think like that's how like the real life will be. There's not gonna be someone like writing like a lab manual and you just like follow it step by step. Like that's one of my favorite parts about this team, and that's one of the skills that's like really helped me in like my job searching and like in building my resume.
I wanted to ask you, Dalton, because we kind of talked about the science and engineering side of things, but how does R3 compare to, like, you are taking media and communications, correct?
Yeah, I'm
So how
doing
does that
yeah. Sorry, you cut out there for a second at the end.
sorry. No, I was just asking you, how does being on the team compare to your studies? Because you have a different experience from us.
Yeah, it feels good. Like it really feels like I'm working on like a professional team, sort of like that. Like there are deadlines, people have expectations, and I think one of the best parts of being on this team is that people aren't afraid to give you constructive feedback on things. Like for the SAR video, for example, which is like one of the first big things I worked on. I think I was working with like Mustafa and Prashant, and like every time I turned in a draft, it wasn't necessarily something wrong with it, but it was like this could be better, and it was a moment for me to learn like, oh, this is how I do this, or like that would look really sick or something like that. So it's a really good environment for like trying to like get feedback from people.
And like sort of like adding into that, it's like just like look at this sort of like an opportunity to learn more about yourself and
Yeah.
learn where your interests lie. Like for example, when I sort of like think about grad studies or like the future, sometimes I consider doing astrobiology research. And like this is a great opportunity for me to get to like know myself, whether I like it or not. So I would say like if you are like interested particularly in astrobiology or anything related to astronomy or exobiology, I feel like the live detection team would be a great opportunity for you to figure out where your interests lie.
Side, does having a background in Unix help?
Honestly, for like any skills, like the more skills you know, like the more useful you'll be to the team. Like I don't think like any skills that you have will eventually help. Like Unix in general, I'm not sure if like you will be working with that specifically. Um, for like projects that I will be leading, maybe in the future when things do come up. Um, it won't. But I think in terms of like software and everything, especially like a lot of like software is kind of like the same, and like the way you approach problems is kind of the same, and like so that background like really matters, and that can help you like create like a lot more efficient, better code. So sure, it'll definitely help, I think.
And then somebody asked, will the team switch to in-person meetings in January? And I can answer that. That's to be determined. So we currently do have, there is announced access to the school. So that's still being figured out though, even with the school. There's a lot of COVID precautions. You can have limited numbers in the shop. That's probably going to be used for things like manufacturing. So hands-on things that need to be done physically, or maybe board production. I don't know. We haven't really figured that out yet. In conversation with school regulations. January is a long way away. We don't know what Ryerson rules will be. I hope we're back in person. I really miss all being in the shop together. We might do something hybrid where we have like some people in person, some people online. We did that before COVID actually, because sometimes people were on co-op or something and couldn't make it to the meetings and they phoned in. So we could do something like that. Who knows? It will be up to everybody's preference, the school's rules, and where everything is in January. I wish I had a crystal ball.
Yeah. In terms of like controls and like software and stuff, I was talking to our captain, our co-captain, Daniel, the other day, and like a lot of people like they don't like the fact that like they don't have any like hardware to actually like upload their software into, right? But he said that we can get we should be able to by some means in like the final stages, especially of getting the hardware to you, whether it's at Ryerson and like maybe like the service hub or at the actual shop, like there might be a way of like actually getting that like transported to you or for you to pick up that hardware from someone else who does have it. So that way, like, although you might not be like physically with other people, you can get that hands-on experience. I know with the team, like for the TSN project, I know I'm talking about TSN a lot because that was the project that I led last time. For that, I actually I recommended like this one kit for like this microcontroller, which was like around like 25 bucks, and I didn't force anyone to buy it or anything, right? But like all these people, like they kind of just wanted to get it so they can like experience that themselves, and they can actually like connect something and like see magic happen, you know. So I feel like mechanical, I can't speak from, but I feel like that's kind of harder. But at least from software side, you can actually get a lot of that hands-on stuff without actually having like really expensive equipment or having like physically touching the robot, like the rover. You can do like all these parts individually. So
With mechanical, we've actually managed to do a lot of manufacturing creatively. So some stuff we've had to send out to companies. We've done a lot of 3D printing. So a lot of members have 3D printers or know people with 3D printers. That's a way. Another thing we do is have somebody on the team send you parts or drop off parts to your house for assembly. So there is hands-on opportunities, even with the pandemic on mechanical, we've been making it happen.
Yeah, and that also like applies to like the live detection team, because like we're currently like working on the protocol still, but eventually those protocols will be tested in the lab. So some of the members will get the opportunity to work in a wet lab and conduct the experiments, and then in the end we'll write sort of like a report on the experiments that we did and like explain the rationale why we did certain things in the way that we did them. So yeah, there's like also an opportunity for like live detection team members to have an experience hands-on.
And there's some like filming opportunities on the video editing team, right, Dalton?
Yeah, I think we were talking about having a few of us go out to film the rover for the SAR this year. So yeah, absolutely opportunities.
If you have some sick videography skills,
It'd be so
we'll
cool.
put you in there.
Absolutely.
So we're down to the last 4 minutes of the hour. Does anyone have, what are your parting words? What would you say to yourselves when you were applying to the team?
I think just like be confident about it. You are about to step into a really welcoming environment of people that aren't afraid to help you. All you have to do is really ask for it. So just be open to that. Don't be afraid to try new things, and you're gonna have a lot of fun.
I'd say just that just kind of commit to things. Like if you're gonna go in, then go in with like a gung-ho mindset, I guess. Just like go all in, because you don't have anything to lose, and like it's really beneficial for you, I think, to come into the team, because you're gonna learn a lot of skills. You're gonna meet a lot of new people, even if you maybe don't work on the projects you specifically wanted, or you are having difficulties. Like you can always reach out to team members and they can help you. We can arrange something, just be vocal about your concerns as well.
Should I go next? In my experience, I feel like, I mean, I said it before, but look at this like as an opportunity to get to know yourself and where your interests lie. And I mean, the team is friendly and everyone's willing to help. As Dalton said, just like ask for help if you're unclear about something and just step out of your comfort zone, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree with that part. Um, so many people, they go into this team knowing like little to nothing, and they think like, how am I gonna contribute when I like have no experience? Like I'm gonna look all stupid. Like all these people, like they know all these complex things. Well, guess what? Like I was in your shoes. In fact, you're probably in like bigger shoes than me. Like you probably like you probably like I feel like a lot of you guys knew a lot more than what I did in terms of like programming and like getting things done. And you guys like are not valuing yourselves, you know? Like trust me, you guys are amazing. You guys have a lot of potential and you guys can do great things. So just join R3 and make those like dreams become a reality.
I agree with everything you guys said. I think one of the best things about R3 is the community. A lot of my best friends I made from being on the team. You get to meet incredible people. You build really strong bonds because you struggle together and you overcome challenges. And it feels so good at the end of the day to be like, we did that. We did that. So I'd say embrace the struggle because that is how you grow. And in retrospect, that's going to be the best memories. Well, thank you everybody for joining today. It was wonderful to meet you.
Hold
Please
up,
apply.
there's one more question there, Vanessa.
Oh,
I
there's
filled
one more
out.
question.
Yep, I filled out the form. What's the next step?
You will hear from us this weekend. So applications close on Saturday night at midnight. So if you haven't applied yet, get it in now before Saturday. Don't forget, because once it's closed, the form is closed. And once you have applied, we will be sending you emails. So we have all of your email addresses from those forms, and we'll be emailing you probably on Sunday with your next steps. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. We hope to see you on the team. You can email the team if you have any more questions, but hopefully we answered them. And there's also more Q&A podcasts that you can watch on our channel. If you go back, we have a whole playlist of them that will maybe tell you more about the team.
Sounds good. Thanks everyone for coming and showing up.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Stream now. All right.